We're here at the St. Catharines Public Library, where Brock political scientists are hosting a public panel discussion, The Rise of Trumpism. It'll examine what a Trump presidency will look like and how it might impact Canadians.
A lot is still up in the air because we don't know exactly what Trump is going to do. He's the most underprepared and, to say the very least, president in American history. But he does have the potential to cause significant damage to the relationship, just because we're so dependent on the United States, and he's basically kind of like a bull in a china shop, signaling that he's going to upend, pretty much the entire post-World War II order, and Canada, fits very nicely into that order. So there's a lot. Canada stands to lose a lot.
I think that you're right that Trump really views international politics as a kind of dog-eat-dog, alpha male competition. And so I do think that Canadian leaders have to take a hard look at the way they present themselves. And, for too long, I think not for too long, but Canadians have assumed a kind of benign leader in the White House. And usually the American leaders have been pretty civilized, at least in terms of their dealing with Canadians, not in the 19th century, but of course more recently. And that's just not the case now.
Professor of Political Theory Leah Bradshaw told those on hand that she wasn't surprised Trump got elected and feels that things may get worse.
It's not uncommon for democracies in their later stages to turn to tyrannical figures, strongmen, rulers. When things get kind of chaotic in the democracy, there's great inequality, great disparity between the rich and the poor, and a lot of freedom, a lot of chaos, a lot of anxiety. People look to a ruler, and oftentimes it's an elected ruler who promises them stability and promises to, resurrect economic prosperity. So I'm not surprised. I do think liberal democracy is in a critical phase right now.
While Canadians have been watching the events closely, those with family living in the United States will soon be impacted directly.
So many of my family members are really worried. They're kind of hoping that impeachment might somehow happen. I think they're probably overly optimistic, but they think that maybe the Republican Congress will take action against Trump for some of his business conflicts and the kind of corruption that seems to be already coming into play. I'm not as optimistic, but yes, they are fearful, sure.
A family in the Philadelphia area, a couple people are very right-wing in their leanings, but a majority of my family are liberal. The liberal side is worried. They're scared, to be quite frank. They voice their concerns to me, and they're not optimistic about the future of their country. And on the other hand, with the right-wing members of my family, they're just fed up with it, and they voted for Trump. They found that the previous representatives they've had in office haven't really addressed their concerns as regular people. So they're hoping Trump does something that maybe the others haven't done in the past, which is create a better economy for regular people.
He says some appalling things, but I think he's an opportunist. I think he's a classical political opportunist. He wants to be in power. He will speak the things that he thinks are going to get him votes. I don't know if I'd say I'm encouraged by that necessarily, but I don't think, I wouldn't draw parallels between Trump and deeply racist political rulers, some of which political leaders, party leaders that we've seen in Europe. I don't think that's his game.
Tonight's discussion was a chance for both academics and Niagara residents to discuss what the future political landscape will look like for Canadians. From the St. Catharines Public Library, reporting for The Source, I'm Greg Lavelle.